Once upon a time, there was a young woman named Sophie. She was kind, gentle, and always busy with work, so she did not have much time for love. Her best friend, Emma, knew this and wanted to help. One day, Emma told Sophie that she had arranged a blind date for her. She said the man was handsome, funny, and had a good heart. Sophie agreed to go, but deep inside, her stomach was filled with butterflies. She kept wondering all day what the man would look like, how he would talk, and whether they would like each other or not. When the evening came, Sophie dressed up nicely and went to the restaurant earlier than the time agreed. She ordered a glass of wine, hoping that it would calm her shaking nerves. As she waited, her eyes moved around the restaurant, trying to guess which of the men seated there might be her date. Every time someone walked in, her heart beat a little faster. Suddenly, a man walked straight to her table with a warm smile. He looked familiar, though Sophie could not remember where she might have seen him before. The man stretched out his hand and said, "Hi, I'm Ben." Sophie quickly shook his hand and replied, "I'm Sophie." She felt a little relief, at least he seemed nice and polite. They sat down, but very soon Sophie noticed something strange. The conversation was not flowing well. Whenever she tried to start a topic, Ben gave very short answers, sometimes only one word. When she asked about his work, he simply said, "Office." When she asked about his hobbies, he just mumbled. Sophie felt as though she was talking to herself, trying to cover the heavy silence between them. It was almost like he was trapped in his own world, not fully present. They ordered their food, and Sophie kept trying to find something they could both enjoy talking about, but it felt difficult, like pulling teeth. Just then, Sophie's phone rang. She excused herself quickly and answered. It was Emma. "Hey, how's the date going?" Emma asked in her cheerful voice. Sophie rolled her eyes, not wanting to tell her friend the truth. "It's fine, I guess," Sophie replied, pretending to sound happy. Emma, not noticing the discomfort, said, "Well, I'm glad you're having fun." Sophie went back to the table, hoping the night would soon be over. She was already thinking of a polite excuse to leave. But before she could speak, Ben suddenly lifted his eyes and said quietly, "I'm sorry, I know this is not going well. I'm just really nervous, and I don't know what to say." His voice sounded honest, and his eyes looked sad. For the first time that evening, Sophie felt a little softness in her heart. She realized that maybe he wasn't cold or boring, he was simply shy. She smiled at him and said, "It's okay. I'm nervous too." Both of them laughed lightly, and that small laugh broke the wall of awkwardness. Slowly, the air around them changed. They began to talk more freely, sharing small stories, laughing at silly jokes, and discovering that maybe they were not so different after all. The night grew longer, and soon they realized they had been at the restaurant for hours. As the evening went on, Sophie and Ben started to feel more comfortable with each other. What had begun as an awkward dinner was slowly turning into something warm and gentle. Ben told Sophie about his childhood, how he used to be shy even in school, always hiding at the back of the classroom. Sophie listened carefully and laughed at some of his funny stories. In return, she shared a little about her own life, about how Emma had always been her biggest cheerleader, pushing her to try new things. Soon, they were talking so freely that they even forgot about the people sitting around them. The restaurant grew quieter as some customers left, but Sophie and Ben were still enjoying their conversation as though they were old friends catching up after a long time apart. For the first time that night, Sophie felt relaxed, and she noticed that Ben's smile was actually quite charming when he wasn't so nervous. After the meal, they decided to take a short walk outside. The night air was cool, and the street was softly lit with lamps. Ben walked beside Sophie, and for a while, they enjoyed the silence. Then Ben said, "You know, I didn't think you would want to stay after how the dinner began." Sophie laughed and replied, "Well, I almost left, but I'm glad I didn't." Her words made Ben smile even more, and in that moment, the connection between them began to grow stronger. As they walked, Sophie felt something she hadn't expected: comfort. She had thought this would just be one of those dates she would want to forget, but now, she was curious about where it might lead. Emma's words echoed in her head, "He's handsome, charming, and funny." At first Sophie had doubted it, But now she was starting to see a different side of Ben. When they reached the end of the street, Ben turned to her with a serious but hopeful look. "Sophie," he said softly, "can I see you again?" Sophie looked into his eyes, and for a moment she hesitated. Her heart was saying yes, but her mind still carried a little doubt. She smiled and answered, "Maybe, let's see." Ben chuckled at her playful answer, but deep down, he hoped that maybe meant yes. The night was not over, and their story had only just begun. Stay back for the next part of Ben and Sophie love story. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and hit the notification bell so you don't miss more interesting and heartwarming stories.